In today's video, we're going to discuss some tools you probably don't need, but if you have them, they do kind of tend to make life a little bit easier. Quite honestly, you're probably going to even forget you have them in your toolbox. All right, here's a device that comes in handy if you're working on the interior of a car and you're doing electrical testing. A lot of times I like having this if I'm working under the dashboard, things like that. All it is it just plugs into your accessory outlet and it allows you to have a positive and negative source. It even came with these extension cables with the alligator clips. Obviously, totally not necessary. There's always a ground available there, and for power, typically I would just use pin 16 on the ALDL like everybody. But sometimes that ALDL is a little bit inconvenient to get to, whereas this just makes it readily available. Yeah, not totally necessary, but it's kind of handy. All right, you got your impact driver, and of course, you have your socket on there, your screwdriver bit, whatever, and when it doesn't fit into a space that you want it to, you of course just switch to the hand ratchet or standard screwdriver. Maybe just ratchet like this, that takes up a lot less space, that kind of thing. But one thing that can maybe help is that your impact bit itself is just a bit too long. Yeah, a bit too long. That's why substituting that out with this compact bit, a little stubby bit like that, and you can see that it saves you maybe about, I don't know, half an inch. That may make the difference between still being able to have the convenience of using your impact. All right, if you're doing an oil change or a timing belt service or something for somebody in your neighborhood, you want to make that professional kind of appearance for it. You can get these little stickers here with your next service due. I like it says next service due because it's not specific to any particular service. You can put that on the timing belt cover. You can put that on the windshield for oil change. Got the date and mileage there, but it's just a nice little thing there that isn't necessary, but it makes you look like you care what you're doing. All right, these little S-shaped pliers can sometimes be kind of handy. These are from my favorite plier manufacturer, KNIPEX. It is pronounced KNIPEX, by the way. So it's pretty seldom you find that there's an application where only these will ever work, but there are some applications where this makes it easier than trying to finagle other types of pliers. All right, removing hose clamps, usually not a really big deal. Sometimes little twist clamps are in a place that's a little harder to access, and these little flexible bending screwdriver type ones, they also have flip sockets on them for different sizes as well. And it might just make it a little bit easier to reach a difficult location on your hose clamps. Actually, a little more useful for your ring type hose clamps are these universal types here. Now, typically, my go-to is a pair of hose clamp pliers like that. That's the first thing I reach for. But these can be pretty useful because of the universal jaw design. You can use them any direction and angle, be able to grab on to that ring clamp. Also, they're ratcheting as well. Also, the design of it here where it doesn't take up a lot of space when you open the jaws fully like that. I usually find my angled ratcheting hose clamp pliers like this work in most applications, but these can be pretty handy to have. You got your straight and your 45-degree angle ones. Got these as a Christmas present, actually. This is a KTTOOL 1/2 inch, 3/8 and 1/4 drive pry bar set. So I've got a number of different pry bars. I don't think I've ever found an application where I can't find the right pry bar, but if you can't, these will just fit right onto your 1/4, 3/8 or 1/2 inch ratchet. And now you can make your pry bar at all kinds of different angles. And of course, even now, different directions that you can pry it. All right, this next one I personally find to be a must-have just because of the value in the time savings and convenience that it provides for all the diagnostics that I do. But most people won't find it to be as necessary to justify the cost. But that's the U-Activate multi-purpose relay testing tool. This will allow you to measure your load and control side voltages very easily and be able to bypass them as well. Plus, be able to measure amperage using your amp loop at the same time. And this, of course, comes with a lot more than this to adapt to different type relays. As most of you guys are familiar, the tool that I've used most of the time is just this paper clip. But this is just such a time saver. It's super convenient, but anything you do with this tool, you can absolutely get by with your DVOM and a paper clip and some jumper wires. All right, this next one some people may disagree with. I typically don't use this as much as I thought I would, but this is a thread measurement gauge. You've got metric and standard male and female. How do you identify? Male and female and they, them threads on here that will just allow you to take any nut and bolt and immediately measure up and see what the pitch and size is and all that. So it can be pretty handy to have around. All right, years ago, somebody got me this as a gag gift actually, but it turned out, I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool and I've used it a few times, but this is a mechanic's glove, but it has the cutouts for your key fingers for threading bolts and things like that. So now you can protect your entire hand except for the most important digits and phalanges. Interesting. All right, recently I was working on a Jeep Grand Cherokee where I did a transmission pan replacement on it, and the front bolts on the pan are just above the frame of the vehicle, and this is a way that you may be able to get to those Torx bits. There's also Allen bits right here. But these, you see, they're extremely low profile that you could get up there and loosen those bolts up. I personally found it way easier to undo the engine mounts and just lift the engine up and use my ratchet in there to zip them out rather than go a 64th of a turn a million times on 5 bolts like that. But if you're so inclined, these are the lowest profile thing that I am aware of to be able to access your Torx or Allens that are in hard to reach places. But prepare to spend all day inching them out. All right, and finally last but very, very far from least is actually a gift that I recently received as a Christmas present from a viewer. This mini toolbox from Harbor Freight here, I haven't really figured out what I'm going to put in there yet, but it certainly is cool, and it's the same design and manufacturing as the actual toolbox would be. It also has lid here you can lift up. It actually came with the drawer liners and everything like that. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'm glad I have it. All right, actually help me out. If you guys have one of those mini toolbox, or if you want one of those, what do you or what would you use it for? I would love to get some ideas from you. All right, that concludes this video. I hope you found this one a little more fun. We'll see you next time.